Welcome to today's review of the Tissot Seastar. I've got the 40mm and 36mm side by side. I was really excited when I saw Tissot release the 40mm version. It looked like it could be a contender for one of the best quartz Swiss entry-level divers. The 36 on the other hand looked like an interesting smaller dive watch option, so I thought I would take a look at them both. Today we're going to take a closer look at the case, dials, bracelets, Lume performance, and see how these both look on my wrist. Hopefully this helps you decide if you're indeed shopping for one of these options. And make sure you hit that subscribe button for more of my content. Now let's jump in.
This one has a 40mm diameter. It's got a lug to lug of 45.5. Thickness is just 10mm up to that flat sapphire crystal. The lug width is 20 and it tapers down to 18mm, and the clasp goes back up to 20. The weight on this unsized bracelet is 137 grams. The dimensions of this one are 36mm in diameter. The lug to lug is just 42. Thickness is the same at 10mm up to again a flat sapphire crystal. The lug width on this one is just 18mm, and it does taper down to 16 and goes back up to 18 at the clasp. The weight unsized is 115 grams. The first thing when I look at this watch that stands out to me is the bezel insert. It has silver printing underneath what appears to be a sapphire coated bezel. That bezel does sit on top of these fully polished lugs. Again, they attract some fingerprints and smudges. Tops of the crown guards, of course, are also polished. And that does go nicely with the polished center links on the bracelet and gives the watch an overall appearance of a dressier diver. The bezel does have a coin edge, which is easy enough to grip. However, the bezel action is kind of disappointing. It feels and sounds cheap, and there is some noticeable backplay that you can feel. It is 120 click, and it does not have a Lume pip. It's very similar on both, and here you can listen to the 36. Both watches also have the exact same 6mm screw down crown, which, like I said, gives the watch its 300 meters of water resistance. Now let's take a closer look at the bracelets, which are very similar on both. First of all, that first link, as you can see, doesn't articulate fully down, and same thing if you try to move it up. It stops there, and it doesn't articulate fully upward, whereas the second link and beyond does give you the full articulation to drape and really hug the wrist. I don't think that's going to be too much of an issue, as this case profile does have that slight curvature, and it does sit really nicely on the wrist. By taking a look at the bracelet, end link fitment with the case seems to be spot on. There is only slight amount of gap if I try to move the bracelet between the case and the end link. Polished center links. I could really take it or leave it. With the design theme of this being a dressier diver, I guess it does make sense. I would have preferred a fully brushed bracelet though, as these do get scratched up really easily. The quality of the brushing is decent on the bracelet, and same thing with the sides. It does have the push pins that can easily be hammered out when you're sizing the bracelet. Taking a look at the clasp, it does have a very simple Tissot pressed clasp, which they've been using for ages. Really wish they did upgrade in that department. And it does have a nicely machined mechanism. 3 micro adjusts and no half links on this bracelet. And one other thing to note, it does have the quick release pins for quick strap changes. That is a very nice touch. And the 36mm version again has the same style of bracelet, just on the narrower 18mm lug width. And same thing, it's got the quick release pins and same style of clasp with the 3 micro adjustments on this one as well. And same type of mechanism. And here you can see a little bit the inside of this pressed clasp. They've been using this one for quite a while. I have old Tissots from the early 2000s that have the same type of clasp. It does give you a nice secure fit, but just visually it could be upgraded. Also, on the fly adjustment is always a welcome change. Taking a closer look at the dial, both of these watches have similar layout. It's got the classic look with the triangle at 12 o'clock and circles and rectangles for the remaining indices. It's got a simple minute tracker that goes all the way around the dial, and the seconds hand on both of these quartz models almost hits the markers. So that's not too bad. I've seen Tissots and other Swiss watches with quartz movements that have much worse seconds hand alignment. So it's close but not perfect. The handsets are all polished, and they do have that nice simple appearance with the pencil style hour and minute hands. And then it's got the lollipop seconds hands with the Tissot counterbalance. Date cutout at 6 o'clock is really nicely framed and very legible, so great size of date cutout and great placement. The only thing I would have loved to have seen is a small loomed index below the cutout. Lume shot after being fully charged by the studio lights. Lume has a nice blue shade and actually looks and performs pretty good. Lume is only on the indices and the hour, minute, and seconds hand. No Lume pip on the bezel insert on either of these watches. And here's the Lume performance after a few minutes have passed. So you can see that initial blue color has essentially disappeared. It's much closer to a white finish now. But you can see the intensity has definitely died down. Not comparable to a Seiko Lumebrite or BGW9 or Swiss Super Luminova. So initial glow was nice and impressive, but the Lume performance is below average, I would say subpar after a few minutes. Slightly lighter shade of blue on the 36mm with a darker blue on the 40. Taking a look from the side, it's actually got the same 6mm crown, screw down crowns with 300 meters of water resistance on both. And let's take a look at the crown action on the 36mm. Screws out nice and easy, feels smooth. Pulling it out to adjust time. And pulling it out to the first position allows you to adjust the date. Pushing it back in and turning the crown, just buttery smooth, clicks right into place and turns easily to screw it back down with a nice secure feel. That is a nice welcome touch after having reviewed some AliExpress watches. The case finishing also is nicely done. Not really any noticeable sharp edges on the case. However, the bracelet sides do feel sharp to me, and I had the same issue with the 35mm PRX that I recently reviewed. Make sure you check out that review on my channel. But Tissot, if you're watching, please do make sure that you guys are leaving a larger chamfer on the underside of the edges so that it's not digging into one's wrists and causing discomfort. The PRX bracelet looked amazing, but it was not very comfortable, and it was mainly due to the sides of the bracelets which dig in because they are too sharp. There needs to be a chamfer to relieve some of that sharpness and make the bracelet more comfortable. Otherwise, these are some great options. The 36mm version is definitely more suited to those of us with smaller wrist sizes. I do like smaller watches in a lot of cases, but this one is too small for my liking. It looks too feminine on my wrists, so I did not enjoy wearing this. The 40mm is a great size. The dial ends up making the watch look larger than the 40mm would suggest, but pretty cool option, especially at this price point. I'll leave the prices listed below for your reference, and now make sure you do check out some of my other reviews.